why you should learn C as a pen tester. Now, I'm going to give you a compelling case of why it might be actually worth your time to invest into what you might consider a pretty old language. What's up, guys? This is Ryan from Elevate Cyber. Now, why would it be actually worth your time to invest into an old language like C? Well, it is used very much so in the present day when it comes to a lot of special cases, right? If you need something that runs very quickly, right? If you're having to deal with these environments that you don't have many resources to work with, you need something really lightweight, right? We all know that, I'm pretty sure, right? You know, like your IoT devices and things like that. Or if you're developing engines for things like game engines, that'd be more of like a C++, but still, you know, C++, kind of lumping those two together here. But specifically C, why would it be worth your time? Well, all of those other things aside, there's a particular reason why a lot of people that are pen testers spend time learning C. Now, when it comes to this language, it is still considered a high-level language in a certain sense, but is a lot lower level language than a lot of the other languages you might be used to, right? It is a lower level language than Python, than JavaScript, than C#, all of these things. It is a higher level language than, like, say, assembly, which, I mean, that is as close as you can get to the machine. So there are some abstractions and things that are taking place, but other than assembly, it is as low level as you can really get. And one thing it's great for is helping you understand how memory works, right? Now, when I say learning C, I'm not talking about mastering C and becoming a master developer in C, but I'm more so talking about having a basic understanding of the language, how to use it, how to read code written in C, and how to write some exploits in, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So I'm going to present to you 3 different cases, right? And these cases are all things that you could greatly benefit by learning C, right? Case 1, you want to do some exploit development, okay? Maybe you want to be able to write some exploits, come up with some exploits. Maybe even you want to be able to modify some exploits just a little bit better with a little more understanding. That was one case for learning C. The second one is you want to get into some IoT hacking, right? You want to hack some IoT devices, things like that. Well, learning C, definitely something that's beneficial. And the third case is you want to get into some malware analysis. You maybe want to look at some malware, both statically and dynamically. Learning C is always recommended in that area. And, the reason that C is very valuable in all 3 of these areas, well, let's step through it, right? In the exploit development case, why is it valuable to know C? Well, it's valuable to know C because C gets you closest to the memory, and it will teach you a lot about how to manage memory and how to abuse, vulnerabilities in code, abuse the memory, right, to get your exploit to run. Because when we're talking about, for example, any kind of kernel exploitation, a lot of memory exploits that you might see out there and for any type of software, typically when we talk about that, what we're dealing with is memory, bugs with the memory, right? So all really hacking is, and getting a shell is, or getting code execution is getting a process to run your code, which has to do with the memory, right? So you actually manipulate the memory to read off of your code instead of what it's programmed to do by the developers, right? Instead, arbitrarily execute your commands. So if you can have a solid understanding of the memory, how the memory is laid out, how the memory works, and you know how to exploit it, well, that's going to allow you a lot of access to having, manipulating programs to run your code, right? So the memory exploitation stuff, very important when it comes to exploit development. And on the IoT hacker case, right? Well, pretty much all the chips that are programmed, like the firmware and things like that, you're dealing with some limited resources, right? So almost all of that is written in C, maybe sometimes C++. And so, and once again, having the understanding of the memory and memory exploitation stuff is important as well, so we can lump that in there. So it's very important to know C if you look to get into IoT hacking. Now, another case, right, the malware analysis case, pretty much similar thing. A lot of the malware stuff, it's important to understand how the memory stuff works, because that is what a lot of the exploits look like. The malware that you might see, it's doing, it's manipulating the memory and what is being read from the memory. So, I mean, if you look at any course, introductory course on malware analysis, they almost always tell you, hey, go learn some C. And a bonus one I'll throw in there, if you're interested in game hacking, pretty much same thing, right? You have to be able to manipulate the memory, and a lot of the games are developed in C, C++ as well, or C++, I guess I should say. Some in C#, but still, if you have that understanding of the memory, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but yeah, that's going to very much help you. And so even if you aren't using a ton of C every day and it's not your primary language, learning this language is going to help you understand how a lot of things work under the hood just so much better, because you are closer to the machine than with, say, a Python. However, there is a great reason to have Python as a language you use a lot, even more so than C, because the advantage of Python, I just want to really throw that out there. I'm not saying learn this instead of Python. Have Python in your arsenal, because the beauty of this language of Python is that it is one of the most efficient languages to code with as far as write speed, meaning you can write a program really quickly and effortlessly in Python, and writing that same program in a lower level language like, say, C or C++ would take way more code and way more effort. And so normally we don't care about runtime, we care about write time more. And so using Python as your everyday tool, these are all tools, these programming languages, right? You got to find the right tool for the job. You don't want to hammer something in with a screwdriver and try to screw a screw in with a hammer, You want to use the right tool for the job. So Python, absolutely amazing for most of the programs that you're going to write for yourself, like scripts, tooling, things like that, anything you want to automate. And then if you are really with C, I would say you more so learn it. You more so take just a general learning approach to it, where you're just trying to learn a lot of the inner workings of the language, because that's going to teach you a lot about memory management and how the memory stuff works and how the kernel stuff works, all of that. And so if you take a more, I don't know what the term is, the more educational, theoretical approach to that, maybe write some simple C programs and things like that. A lot of how you're going to be interfacing with C after you learn the basics of the language is just understanding, what is happening at the computer level pretty much, and looking at some code and being able to exploit it and understand what the code's doing. And so that is pretty much what I would say there. So hopefully this video was of help to you guys, and maybe it inspired you to go out and at least learn some of the language. Don't worry about the ins and the outs of every little detail. If you're going to go on this learning journey, I mean, it pretty much goes without saying, but I'll say it anyways. Focus mostly, put more effort on to all the parts of it that have to deal with memory and things like that versus, the ins and outs of all the libraries necessarily, right? Or some of the other things that you could go down, but, still get a good general learning and understanding of it. A lot of languages are built on C and C++, right? So it's going to help you understand programming language and common vulnerabilities as a whole even more, right? Like integer overflow. Go play around with some C programming. Learn, practice overflowing some integers, because that is a bug that has led to many vulnerabilities, serious, critical ones as well. So yeah, definitely go explore this stuff, and it's going to help you so much in whatever you want to do as a pen tester, whatever route you want to go down. Now, of course, malware analysis, not exactly a pen testing role, but I wanted to throw that one in there as well, because it is an area of security that I know a lot of people are interested in. And you could definitely take that knowledge of malware analysis to maybe write some of your own malware to deploy in a test environment or on a red team engagement. So I don't know, having some of that knowledge can definitely help us as pen testers as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If so, go ahead and check out my playlist right here if you want to get more Python coding, more coding knowledge in general. This is my Black Hat Python series, where we're going to be doing a lot of pen tester, building a lot of pen testing tools with our knowledge of Python. So check out those videos. I'll see you guys right over there. Thanks for watching.